Europeans don't end empires. They abscond. They flee the scene of the crime, dressed as diplomats and humanitarians. They don't sign peace. They draft policy memos, build statues to themselves, and fly out the gold while the ink is still wet. Their empires don't collapse. They shapeshift. From gunpowder to banks, from direct rule to trade law, from chains to currency. The British Empire never ended. It just changed outfits. The Union Jack came down and the World Bank moved in. Ghana gained independence in 1957, but the British retained mining contracts, rail control, and pricing power through Anglo Gold and Barclays. Jamaica left the empire in 1962, yet Elizabeth II remained head of state. The IMF arrived with austerity, and bauxite exports flowed directly into UK smelters. They lost the colonies, but kept the economies. France pulled out of Algeria in 1962, only after 1 million deaths and 132 years of occupation. But their fingerprints remained on oil rigs, phone lines, and every Western-aligned coup from Algiers to Dakar. They left Vietnam in 1954, and within a decade were back laundering torture techniques through American advisors in Saigon. They pulled out of Haiti in 1804, after losing the only successful slave revolution in modern history, but made Haiti pay 150 million francs in compensation to French slavers, with interest, paid until 1947. Belgium never ended its rule over Congo. It just removed the flag and installed Mobutu. Trained by the CIA, bankrolled by Brussels, allowed to loot the country with Western approval as long as he suppressed Pan-Africanism. When Lumumba tried to nationalize Congo's resources, Belgium assassinated him and buried him in sulfuric acid. His tooth was kept in a Belgian drawer for 60 years, like a colonial keepsake. Germany lost its colonies in 1918, but from Namibia to Togo, they never returned the land, never paid reparations, never acknowledged the genocide of the Herero and Nama people until 2021, and even then refused to legally classify it as reparations to avoid liability. They maintained global industrial reach through companies like Siemens, Bayer, and Krupp, built on slave labor, eugenics, and resource extraction. Portugal held on to Angola, Mozambique, Guinea-Bissau, and more until the 1970s. Their retreat wasn't voluntary. It was forced by anti-colonial guerrilla warfare, economic collapse, and internal revolution. And yet, the moment they left, Portuguese companies returned under post-colonial development charters. The Netherlands withdrew from Indonesia in 1949 after killing an estimated 150,000 people during the Indonesian National Revolution, and after centuries of controlling the spice trade through VOC monopoly capitalism, military force, and scorched earth famine policy. Spain ended its colonial presence in Latin America in the early 1800s, only after centuries of extermination, forced conversion, silver theft, and biological warfare. Yet even today, the monarchy celebrates its exploration legacy, while the church still holds wealth stolen from the Quechua, Nahua, and Mapuche civilizations. Even in collapse, they never gave back. They never apologized. They simply changed forms. The East India Trading Company was replaced by Shell, Unilever, and GlaxoSmithKline. Colonial governors became ambassadors. Viceroys became trade attaches. Military occupation became development aid. Cultural suppression became curricular standardization. White supremacy became secular modernity. The Sykes-Picot Agreement redrew the Middle East in 1916 like a butcher with a ruler, splitting the Levant into British and French zones, leading to a century of war, puppet regimes, border violence, and economic division. When the Ottoman Empire fell, Europe didn't stabilize it. They partitioned it. Palestine was handed to Britain. Iraq was fabricated. Syria and Lebanon became French territories. Today's chaos was built with a fountain pen at Versailles. When they left Kenya in the 1960s, the British ran mass detention camps, tortured Mau Mau fighters with castration and electric shock, and then classified over 300 boxes of colonial records, only declassifying them in 2011 after a lawsuit. They paid reparations to a handful of survivors, but kept the colonial legal codes in place. When they freed the Caribbean, they left behind monarchs, privatized sugar, and educational systems that taught about Shakespeare, but nothing about Toussaint Louverture. The Queen remained on the currency, while the people lived on IMF rations. The Commonwealth is not post-colonial. It's neo-colonial nostalgia, a club for ex-colonizers and still colonized nations to pretend empire is culture. Europe doesn't end empires. It launders them. Through museums, through curriculum, through development banks, through security agreements, through non-profits, through international law written in imperial languages. When you demand justice, they offer heritage. When you demand reparations, they offer trade deals. When you demand return of land, they say look forward, not back. But their wealth looks backward every single day, to the centuries of plunder that built the banks, the borders, the universities, the crowns. Empires are not gone. They're just wearing different uniforms. Cope.